Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prodigy channel, and we have our first lineup setting video of the 2022 fantasy football season. Just like last season, every week I'm going to go through my three main leagues and just set my lineups across my leagues just so you can see, what goes into actually setting a real life lineup in a real life league. I'll also be showing you my transactions and trades and all that as the season goes along. But for week one, we're going to set our lineups here for our main three leagues. Thursday night football between the Bills and the Rams already happened, the season opener. So some players did score across these leagues, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. So we're going to start with my main league. This is the 10th year of the league. I'm a three-time champion in this league. That is the League of Bros. It's a non-PPR, one quarterback league, two running backs, two receivers, one tight end, a flex, and we do have a kicker and a defense as well. So I am the Bungling Buffaloes, looking for my fourth championship in the 10th year of the league, and my opponent did play Gabe Davis already on Thursday Night Football, Bills wide receiver. He did get in the end zone, unfortunately for me. Pro tip though, if you guys notice, he did make a crucial mistake here in setting his lineup, and that was that he put a Thursday night player in his flex. Now, why is that a problem? Because you want to put them in, so if it's a wide receiver, you want to put him in the wide receiver spot. If it's a running back, you want to put him in at running back, because let's say, I don't know, Deebo Samuel gets injured and he can't play, in week one, just hypothetically, right? Well, now that this flex spot is taken, he has to replace this player with a wide receiver. Whereas if he was in the flex, he could play a running back or a tight end to replace that player. It doesn't have to be Deebo, any player that gets injured, right? So it just keeps your lineup open to some last minute injuries and stuff like that, okay? So, and I did have the Rams kicker and he scored 6 points. Luckily, he did have a 50-yard I think it was like a 57-yard field goal. He nailed it, and that's worth 5 points in this league. Plus, we had an extra point. So now time to actually set a lineup here. Kirk Cousins is my quarterback. I got him late in the draft, and I think he's a solid option for the whole season pretty much. He'll be up and down a little bit, but I like his outlook and the Vikings' offense's outlook for the whole season. Jonathan Taylor, first overall pick against Houston. If he scores the most points on the week, I wouldn't be surprised. Javonte Williams at Seattle, that's a must-start option on Monday Night Football. It's a revenge game for the Denver Broncos. I think Russell Wilson and this new look Denver offense is just going to annihilate Seattle. But, between Javonte, Melvin Gordon, Courtland, Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Albert O, all these guys, it's hard to say who's going to score all the points, but I think Javonte is a good bet to get some decent yardage and hopefully get in the end zone. Tyreek Hill as my wide receiver one. Against the Patriots, I think this could be a low-scoring game, but it's Tyreek Hill, and hopefully this coaching staff will want to show off their new electric offensive weapon in this one and get him involved. Hopefully he has a big play. It's not likely against a Bill Belichick defense, but we'll see. DK Metcalf against the Denver Broncos. I am playing him for the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football as my second wide receiver. And also I'm playing Courtland Sutton in that same game at my flex spot, wide receiver for the Broncos against the Seahawks. The only real tough decision when it came to setting the lineup so far was, do I play a Darnell Mooney or do I play Metcalf or Sutton? I went with Metcalf and Sutton. And then Dalton Schultz is my tight end. I think he's going to have a great year. I think he's going to be one of the best values in the draft by the end of the season. And I'm playing the Denver Broncos defense against Seattle because I think they're going to be up early. And I think they're just going to dominate the Seattle Seahawks, who their offense is going to look a lot different now that Russell Wilson is no longer there for Seattle. So this is our second league. So that was a non-PPR league. This is a half PPR league. The previous league, this one was a standard snake draft. I had the first overall pick. I feel like I usually have the first overall pick in that league for whatever reason. This was an auction draft, half PPR. It is a Superflex league, and the opponent of mine played Josh Allen at quarterback. So I got off to a bad start because he put up 31.5 fantasy points. That is not ideal. And I have not had anybody play in that league yet. So there's some catching up for us to do. I went pretty balanced with quarterback. I have Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott. Two really good options that I don't think will finish as the quarterback number one overall on the season, but I think they will both be quarterback ones, or at least close to it. Kirk Cousins against Green Bay, Dak Prescott against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, we got Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, and Javonte Williams as our big three running backs. And yes, Ezekiel Elliott is on my bench right now. I got him for quite a discount. I think it was like 17 out of 200 auction dollars. And I just have a really loaded running back room. And just when it comes down to the matchup, Tampa Bay is good against the run last year. And you got to start Jonathan Taylor. I think Aaron Jones I like a little bit more than Zeke this week. And Javonte Williams I like a little bit more than Zeke as well. So it just turns out that he's on the bench. And then same decision as my other league. Do I start Mooney or not? As of now, I am not starting Darnell Mooney. I'm starting Jaylen Waddle, Brandin Cooks, and DK Metcalf as my 3 receivers. If I do make any changes to my lineup, I will always comment it down below and like put it in the description or something, just so you know you can stay up to date with the news and all that, because fantasy football is always changing. It's kind of difficult to post these videos because some weeks it's hard to even set your lineup until 11:59 a.m. right before the noon games on Sunday, because sometimes there's game time decisions. Speaking of that type of situation, Zach Ertz is questionable. We'll see if he plays, if he's active, and it's looking like he's fully playing. There's no reports of him being limited or anything. I'll play Zach Ertz, tight end for the Cardinals. But if he is ruled out, I will simply just play Alberto and hope he gets a touchdown. Zeke was the odd man out for the running back core. Mooney was the odd man out for the wide receivers. Those were the only real tough decisions. And here's another pro tip, guys. If you have an IR spot in your league, make sure you take advantage of that. You can add people off the waiver wire who might not be owned because they're injured, but you can just stash them on the IR spot and they're not taking up a roster spot. So I picked up Brian Robinson, who was projected to be heavily involved for Washington until he suffered an unfortunate off-the-field injury. He got shot. So he's going to miss some time, but when he comes back, if he's healthy and ready to go, he might see some work. And then I picked up Gus Edwards. Who knows when he'll be back, but I can always drop these guys if I want to, but they're better off on my IR at the end of my bench versus just on the waiver wire for someone to pick up, right? So this is our lineup for half PPR Superflex. And then finally, we had the League of Bros, we had the Auction League of Bros, and now we have the Dynasty League of Bros. And this is where a little game strat comes into play here, because my opponent did already start Allen Robinson, who only had 1 catch for 12 yards on that season opener Thursday night game. It's looking like Allen Lazard is doubtful for the Green Bay Packers. I'm not really sure what his other options are. We have massive benches in this league. He might be able to play Rhamondre Stevenson. Well, he's playing Cook, Eckler, Kamara. So yeah, he could flex. Rhamondre Stevenson. But long story short, he's off to a slow start with who he started already, and he's dealing with a little bit of an injury situation. But I also am kind of dealing with some injuries as well, or for example, a suspension to DeAndre Hopkins, Chris Godwin. It's looking like it might be a game time decision. And they play on Sunday night. So I don't have the luxury of waiting until game time to seeing if he's active or not, because by the time they play, a lot of my other options will have already played. So I don't want to chance it where, Chris Godwin's not active and I don't really have anyone else to start, right? Also, if he is active, I think it's very possible that he'll be limited in that game. And, they got Mike Evans, Julio. They brought in the guy from the Falcons. What's his name? Anybody? Bueller. Russell Gage. I forgot his name, but I just remembered. Russell Gage. So they won't really need to rely on him. So I'm kind of staying away from Godwin for the near future, unless it comes out that he's 100% ready to go. But last I heard, that is not the case. But speaking of the Bucs, we got Tom Brady at quarterback. He's been my quarterback lately, and I'm really glad that he came back against the Dallas Cowboys. I do like Matt Ryan as a streaming option this week against the Texans. The only worry there is that the Colts historically recently have dominated the Texans. So they might be up big and not need to throw the ball too much. But I think Matt Ryan, you could do worse than that. Because if they get a big lead, he might be part of the reason why they get the big lead. Jonathan Taylor, once again, I'm starting him in this league as well. I have him in all 3 leagues. And it's not necessarily a bad thing because he might be the best player in fantasy this season. It is kind of risky having that much invested in one player. But, I got him first overall. I had to take him. I took him over McCaffrey. In the auction draft, I got him for like $49 out of $200, which was actually a really good value compared to some of the other running backs that went, like Kupp and Jefferson, I think went over that price. McCaffrey went for like 62 or 63 or something like that. So I got a great value on Taylor. And in Dynasty, I drafted him in the rookie draft whenever he came out as a rookie, and he's been a stud. So I got him and Joe Mixon. Those are locked in. Other options that are locked in, Mike Williams, DJ Moore, Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. And you notice how I have this Monday night player in the flex spot, right? You see that? That's very important, okay? Because they're playing on Monday night, so you want him in the flex. Now, and I'm playing the Chargers defense against Las Vegas. I don't really like the matchup, but this is Dynasty, where there's not a lot of options on the waiver wire. because all the defenses are owned. And I like that option better than the Cardinals against the Chiefs or the Bears against the 49ers. I just don't really have any great options. Now, I have two big question marks this week. What to do with this flex spot right here and what to do with my tight end position. So first things first, Miles Sanders is currently in at my second flex. This is a 1 quarterback, 2 flex, 3 receiver, 2 running back, just because the benches are so deep. We have, we have the double flex, a 3 wide receiver, just because we have so many players on our teams that we want to, start a decent amount of players. It's just more fun that way. Reward depth on people's teams. Miles Sanders is in there. He has had a rocky career. I think I drafted him in the first round of our rookie draft, and he has not panned out. He just doesn't seem to get the volume. I'm very worried against Detroit. I could see this game. I could see the Eagles winning this game pretty easily, but for whatever reason, I could also see it being competitive, just depending on how the Lions play. And I just hope that Miles Sanders sees enough volume and enough efficiency where he is relevant and decent for fantasy. Okay, I don't need him to win me the week. I just need him to get me a decent amount of points, especially because my opponent had such a slow start with Allen Robinson and has the Lazard injury. If I wasn't starting Miles Sanders, there's JD McKissic who might be involved in. This is a half PPR league, so he might see some catches. James Robinson is a little risky, even though they say he's going to get a decent workload. I just don't see that happening coming off the Achilles injury. Antonio Brown isn't even on a team. Marvin Jones, no thank you. DeAndre Hopkins is suspended. Godwin is dealing with his injury. I'm not starting Zay Jones over Miles Sanders, not Bryan Edwards, not Chase Claypool. I actually thought about starting Dallas Goedert or Dalton Schultz ahead of Miles Sanders, and I just don't think I can do that. I think I'm going to roll with Miles Sanders for now. If I change my mind, I will put it in the comments or the description, like I said. And speaking of that tight end position, I do have a bit of a conundrum because George Kittle is dealing with a bit of an injury. He's listed as questionable against the Bears. So I am not going to be able to make a final decision on this during this video. If Kittle is active and he is fully healthy and ready to go, I'll probably keep him in the lineup. But if he's limited or if he's not active, I'm likely going to be putting Dalton Schultz in as his replacement. I thought about putting Dallas Goedert in there just because I do have Dalton Schultz in another league. And sometimes, Goedert and Schultz are pretty close to me in terms of who I like better. And sometimes if I have, the same player across multiple leagues, I might start, let's say, Dalton Schultz in one league, and I'll put Dallas Goedert in this league just to kind of diversify and just, see what happens with either one. Hopefully, at least in one league, I'll have a good start. But I think Dalton Schultz, I just like him enough better than Dallas Goedert, where as of now, I would just replace Kittle with Dalton Schultz because I think he's safer than Dallas Goedert because Dalton Schultz should be the second option for the Cowboys behind CeeDee Lamb. And I think the Buccaneers are going to probably win that game. So I think the Cowboys will have to throw the ball a decent amount. And with that offensive, there's some question marks with their O-line in Dallas. So I think there might be some underneath passes to Dalton Schultz with a lot of passing volume that should lead to at least, some moderate fantasy success. Whereas Dallas Goedert, don't get me wrong, against the Lions, that doesn't scare me at all. But let's say, for example, the Eagles take a 20-point lead. They're not going to be airing the ball out, and throwing it to Dallas Goedert a bunch, right? Or you have to remember, they just brought in A.J. Brown. So in a game where they could potentially run the ball a lot, where Goedert is the third option most likely, behind A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, Goedert is going to need to get in the end zone, most likely to have a good week for fantasy, at least from my projection at this point in time. That could definitely happen. He could have a 2-touchdown game. I would not be shocked in the slightest if he did that. So, just as of now, I'm going with Dalton Schultz, but like I said, we'll see what the final lineup is. Just make sure to monitor the comments, see if I change any decisions. But as of now, I'm going with Miles Sanders, and I got Kittle in there, but something tells me that he won't be in there by the time the game starts, okay? So with that being said, those are the lineups across my 3 leagues. Hope you enjoyed the video. I always do these videos every year just to give you an insight into my real life leagues. I think it's kind of a fun little thing just to see, the strategy behind setting my lineups. Like, for example, I have a good start with my opponent only having 1.7 points. So I might go with a guy like Dalton Schultz instead of maybe a limited George Kittle, who's a bit risky, or Dallas Goedert, who, while he has the upside, he might not be needed in this game, right? So I think Dalton Schultz is probably the safest, but we'll monitor what happens with Kittle. But thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be posting some more advice-related videos as well, not just looking at my own lineups, but giving you advice into your own lineups as well. So thanks for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace out.